Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest film and TV news with Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Sciretta. And joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film Managing Editor Jacob Hall.
Hello, hello.
Weekend Editor Brad Oman.
Hey, that's me.
And Writer Chris Evangelista.
Hello, folks.
Okay, I know it's Tuesday. We have not done a water cooler episode. I've actually gotten emails complaining that they want more water cooler. We'll get to that, but the news has just been so heated. Yesterday we had that Game of Thrones discussion, which needed to be had, and today we just got a bunch of news to get to. But hopefully tomorrow we get to the water cooler episode, so look forward to that. But let's jump into it. This morning, Bob Iger revealed some Star Wars news. First off, let's talk about the next film after Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Chris, what do we know?
Yes, it is now official that the next Star Wars film, which is due out in 2022, will be from the Game of Thrones showrunners, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. We had already known they were writing a Star Wars trilogy. We just didn't know which would come first, their trilogy or the Rian Johnson trilogy, which is, as far as we know, still happening. But now we know. Now it's going to be at least the first film that will kick this off will be their film. We don't know really any details about it. We do know that it'll be outside of the current Skywalker saga because that's ending with The Last Jedi. So it'll presumably focus on all new characters, but we don't really know for sure. All we know is their film is the one that's coming next.
I feel like a lot of people out there are probably taking this as a sign, Rian Johnson's trilogy is canceled. I don't think that's the case. I think if you look at what Bob Iger has been saying for a while now, on the last earnings call when he talked about the future of Star Wars, he mentioned the trilogy from these guys. He didn't mention Rian Johnson's trilogy. I think this, these guys are coming off of Game of Thrones. I'm guessing the workload is a lot less now that, post-production has concluded. And Rian Johnson is full-blown in the middle of a film busy, so it just seems logical that they would be on next. Jacob, I know you are more on the positive side of what's going on in Game of Thrones, but what is going on with these showrunners? Does this at all make you more excited for them doing Star Wars or less excited for them doing Star Wars?
I'm pretty even-keeled about it. As listeners know, so even those who listened yesterday to our big Game of Thrones episode, I'm on the positive end of these guys as writers and producers. I'm not sure about them as directors, which is why I'm glad that they're not signed up to direct quite yet. I'm hoping they use their opportunity and privileges to get somebody really interesting in there. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But right now, the big mood across the internet is, cancel Star Wars, cancel these guys, get them out of there, because the reaction to the final season of Game of Thrones has been so divisive. And all I can think about is how everybody wanted to destroy Damon Lindelof when Lost was ending, and he came back with some of his absolute best career work with The Leftovers. So I think a change of pace, these guys coming off of something huge and something that had every single eye on it, may be able to bring out the best in them. I mean, maybe having such a sudden shift in worlds could be exactly what they need, in the same way that's what Lindelof clearly needed 10 years ago. So I'm still excited, especially if the rumors are true and they're working in the Old Republic, which is sort of a medieval era Star Wars time period, which would play their strengths. And I like these guys. They make some bonehead decisions, but they also make a lot of really good ones. So I'm still in.
I saw this tweet thread on Twitter from a guy named Daniel Silvermint. It was retweeted into my thread, so I don't know who this guy is. But he was explaining why people, or his viewpoint on why people are feeling or divisive on Game of Thrones, not just this season, but the last season or two, is that there's two different types of writing process, he claims. That there are plotters and there are pantsers. And basically, plotters create a thoroughly detailed outline before they commit to a single word on the page. Pantsers discover the story as they write it, often treating their first draft like one big elaborate outline. They basically approach it from the characters and decide what the characters would do, whereas the plotters make, they plan the story out from a perspective of structure and plot and what needs to happen. and maybe isn't looking as much from the character's point of view. And he's saying that George R.R. Martin was a pantser, and when things switched and these guys had to kind of take over the reins of what the final seasons were, these guys are more plotters. Does this sound like a good theory, Jacob?
Having read that same Twitter feed, I don't follow that person, but I was retweeting my feed, and it's a very interesting take on it. I think that's accurate. I do think Benioff and Weiss are very cinematic in their storytelling and very cinematic in things need to happen, boom, 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 whereas George R.R. Martin is incredibly patient. And I think both of them lean into these styles sometimes to a fault and sometimes to great success, and I think that's a very accurate read. And that's why I think these guys making a movie where it has to, be about plot, especially in a big adventure movie like Star Wars, could be to their benefit. Like I said, I think that the biggest knock against these guys is they made the most popular show in the world, and the show that tens of millions of people watch every week. And I really think that when you actually take a step back, and in a few years when we all do that, we're going to see these guys are very smart, even when they sometimes say really dumb things. So I think they have the right instincts for this and for this type of storytelling.
And I would argue under this, the premise that this guy sets up, that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are both pantsers and not plotters. And I think generally Star Wars, the George Lucas films have been created by plotters. So this might be a more return to the form of what we were used to, maybe? I don't know. Okay, let's talk about the live action news that dropped. I guess Iger revealed that there's a new live action Star Wars show in development. Brad, what do we know?
Yeah, so during the same summit conversation where Bob Iger mentioned that Benioff and Weiss would be doing the first new Star Wars movie that comes out in December 2022, he also mentioned how they were going to be filling that 3-year gap between The Rise of Skywalker and that first movie. And he said in the interim, not only are they producing The Mandalorian and the other previously announced Rogue One prequel series that focuses on Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, but he said that there would probably be a third live-action Star Wars series that would get off the ground before that first movie debuts in 2022. And that's the first that we've ever heard of them doing a third live-action Star Wars series, in addition to the 2 that were already announced. But it's not the first time that we've heard rumblings of another Star Wars series, because there have been rumors on the web that there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi series in development, one that would kind of pick up the pieces of what was likely going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi Star Wars story that was abandoned after Solo, a Star Wars story, didn't do so hot at the box office. So more than likely, this seems like the best option for a third live-action Star Wars series. It's something that fans have wanted to see for a while, especially if they get Ewan McGregor back into that role. And if there were any other sort of idea, we probably would have heard it.
Do fans really want an Obi-Wan series? I feel like you could have said that about a Han Solo series, though. Fans love Han Solo. They want a Han Solo movie. And I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
also, you got to remember the guy they got to play Han Solo. No offense to Alden Ehrenreich, or whatever how to say his name. I thought he did a good job, but I feel like the excitement wasn't there for that because it was a different guy. And if they got Ewan McGregor, obviously he's not the original Obi-Wan, but he played him for 3 films. I feel like that would excite people. But if they cast someone else, I think they will have that same lukewarm reaction. That's just my theory.
I just feel like Disney is taking the wrong lessons from the Star Wars failures. In my mind, they're like, oh, people don't want a Star Wars film, more than one Star Wars film a year. No, people will look at the Marvel films. Just 3 Marvel films a year, and I know we've argued this on the podcast in the past. I think if it's good, people are going to want to see it. It's when it's something that they don't want, and I feel like there's been a strong pushback to fans want new stories with new characters in this galaxy far, far away. They don't want origin stories. They don't want prequels.
Yeah, but when it comes to Ewan McGregor's version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, fans really do like him as a character, especially when it comes to his portrayal in Clone Wars. And even though there are some fans who don't like the prequels, there are just as many fans now who grew up with the prequels and love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi and want to see what happened during that big gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And sure,
but there's such a short runway there. Like, what can you do with the character? He's like protecting Luke from afar. Like, what is?
Well, yeah, sure, but you have no idea what else happened during that time. There's plenty of stories that you can tell during that time period. There's a good 16, 17 year gap there, and a lot happens in that amount of time.
You know what, Brad? They have a book. They have books to tell those stories.
They don't need books if you have Ewan McGregor. I'll watch Ewan McGregor do the dishes.
Jacob, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are that they've already covered this in the recent canon Star Wars comics. There was a really terrific arc where Luke Skywalker recovers Obi-Wan Kenobi's old journal, and he reads it, and they have flashback issues set in between in Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And literally,
was that the arc that it ended up that Obi-Wan Kenobi was responsible for the blue milk in Tatooine?
Actually, I don't remember that part. I mean, you're probably right.
It was like the worst of prequel-itis kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I'm remembering the parts I do like from early on in that run where it was at some points it was Obi-Wan Kenobi and young Uncle Ben buddy cop series where they're both on Tatooine at the same time, both trying to make sure Luke Skywalker does not die in various ways. It ended up being surprisingly entertaining, especially when they leaned into Obi-Wan Kenobi essentially being like an undercover, vigilante, like wandering the desert, just destroying everything that could possibly come to harm Luke. And it was actually really fun. But my whole thing is those are canon, like they are part of the new canon. So either you adapt stories you've already seen, or you decide they don't matter anymore. But I love Ewan McGregor. I think he seems really enthusiastic to return to this part. But I do wonder if this is the right choice. So I kind of see both points of view here.
Yeah. Well, we don't know that's it. We'll have to see what it actually is going to be. Let's talk about how the loss of Disney could affect Netflix. I know Netflix's stock has been down since Disney announced Disney Plus and they were leaving the service to start their own streaming service. There's a new poll conducted by the Morning Consult alongside the Hollywood Reporter of over 2,000 people. What does this new poll show us, Jacob?
This poll shows that a number of Netflix subscribers say they will cancel their Netflix subscription if certain things leave the service. For example, 22% of those polled said they would leave Netflix if Marvel movies left. 20% said they would leave if Star Wars left. 14% said they would leave if The Office left. And 11% said they would quit if Friends left. Now, my initial knee-jerk reaction to this poll was that I do not think 22% of people will give up Netflix if Marvel movies leave for Disney Plus. And that's because Marvel movies are only been 2 or 3 of them at a time on Netflix. They've never been like the bread and butter of that service. But I do think this poll shows that there is a growing dissatisfaction with Netflix's library. If people are willing to at least make it clear, hey, this would upset me, even if they wouldn't actually drop it. That's the thing that Netflix should be worried about. And if Marvel and Star Wars go, and if The Office and Friends go, which are conversations we've been hearing about for years now, I think a lot of people may not necessarily quit on Netflix, but they'd be unhappy with it. And I think a lot of people view Netflix as a utility these days. They pay the Netflix bill in the same way that they pay, the water bill and the electricity bill. It's just something that they have as part of daily life. But I do think that losing these big names and losing these comfort food shows, the things people really enjoy and are attached to, is something Netflix should be seriously worried about. Even if half the people who say they would leave actually leave, it's a big deal.
Brad, do you think that 28% of Netflix users will actually leave if when Marvel and Star Wars movies leave the service?
I mean, this doesn't make much sense to me because it's not as if Netflix has always been this bastion of Marvel and Star Wars content. The only 3 Star Wars movies that have ever been on Netflix are Rogue One, Solo, and The Last Jedi. And Marvel has only ever had 2 or 3 movies at a time on Netflix before they've gone away after the window expires for them to be on Netflix. So it seems weird to me that there's this whole group of people out there who only stick with Netflix just to watch like 5 or 6 movies that have been available just for a certain period of time. Why are you paying for Netflix if that's all you're getting out of it? There's always a rotating library of movies. There's always new shows. So if that's why you're going to leave Netflix, I feel like you shouldn't pay for it at all. You'd have a better use of your money just buying the movies digitally so that you can watch them whenever you want to. So I don't know. I feel like some of this is just like people saying they would probably be annoyed and they're thinking, oh yeah, I'll cancel. But then when they realize, oh, but then I can't watch this, they'll be like, oh, well, never mind. I'm not going to cancel Netflix.
Yeah. And on top of that, by the time, Disney Plus comes out, there'll probably be like, Stranger Things season 3 and like other things to keep them on the service. So I think a lot of those people saying they're going to leave, like maybe that's how they feel, but actually canceling a service and saying you're going to cancel it, are two separate things. Like there's a couple services, subscription services I have that I've been meaning to cancel for like over a month, and it just got rebilled, and I was like, oh, I forgot to cancel this. So I think I don't know, if people are lazy like me, then I suspect that this number is probably gonna be a lot less, but I do think Netflix has something to worry about here. But Chris, I mean, you cover the streaming beat, so you can't cancel.
No, although I will admit I have been watching Netflix a lot less lately, but I don't think I would ever cancel it just because, I don't know, I feel weird to not have it. I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about a story that broke yesterday. Actually, we broke it. It was an exclusive story. I learned that they are making a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot. It's going to be called Shrunk. It is a sequel/reboot. Josh Gad is going to star as the son of the character from the original 1989 film. He'll play the grown-up version of scientist inventor Wayne Szalinski's son, Nick Szalinski, who was like 10 in that original movie. And basically, this is about him and his kids, and he accidentally shrinks them. Kind of like the same plot of the original. It's kind of like one of those reboots that takes the plot of the original but sets it as a sequel. So it is both a sequel and a reboot, but it's more of a reboot than a sequel. I'm wondering what you guys think of this, because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a movie I grew up with. I loved as a kid. By the way, Joe Johnston's directorial debut, and has impressive special effects, but it's all miniature and huge practical effects. This was the day before, CG. Now we have so many more powers of visual effects at our hands. And I mean, some of those end up being bad, but if you look at like Ant-Man, for instance, if you look at the like tiny action in that, I think there could be something cool to be done with a redoing of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And Josh Gad, I know he's not someone I love in everything, but for this kind of comic adventure kind of story, I think his over-the-top character is kind of perfect for this. Brad, what are your thoughts?
I have been wanting to see a remake of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids for a while. I also grew up on the movie like you did. I had it on VHS. I watched it all the time. I still think it's a great family-friendly adventure movie from the early 90s. But I think that exactly because we have all these new state-of-the-art special effects, you can do so much more with that story and do a lot of different things that make a reboot feel a little bit more, I don't want to say necessary, but it makes it more accessible, and there's more of a reason to do it as opposed to just it being a familiar title. And I really do like Josh Gad. He's definitely made some questionable decisions as far as some of the movies that he has done. But I think a lot of those decisions are also in service to allow him to do other things that he is much more passionate about. He's very much a fan of a lot of the same, big properties and geek-friendly IPs that we are. And I think that he always wants to do things that, are good and please the kind of fans that he also is at heart. And honestly, I think he's really funny, too. There was a short-lived series on FX that he did with Billy Crystal called The Comedians that I thought was really funny, and I think it shows his the more edgy side that people don't often see from him, since he is so firmly within Disney's house there. But I think that this has the potential to be something that's really cool.
Yeah, Chris, any feelings on this? Did you grow up with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
I did. I remember liking it a lot. I mean, I haven't seen it in many years, but to piggyback off of something you were saying, I feel like the fun of that movie was the practical effects, the miniatures, the idea of actors interacting with these giant things, and they're not going to do that for this. There's no way. It'll be like CGI or like green screen, and it just, I don't know, it just won't be as fun as that, that practical giant prop effect. But those are my 2 cents. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let's move on to the Twilight Zone. It has been announced that they're gonna re-release this Twilight Zone reboot in black and white soon. Chris, what do we know?
So the new Twilight Zone from Jordan Peele, which is on CBS All Access, starting May 30th, you'll be able to watch this first season in black and white, just like the original Twilight Zone, which was, of course, in black and white. So there you have it. Believe it or not, I actually remember when this new series debuted. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like it doesn't feel like the Twilight Zone if it's not in black and white, and I didn't feel that way, but I guess someone saw those tweets and took it seriously, and now CBS All Access is giving viewers that option.
Now, I know there has been a recent trend of doing this. They did this with Mad Max Fury Road, but I know George Miller wanted to originally film that in black and white and release it theatrically in black and white. Like, is this just more of a gimmick?
I think it really depends. I mean, there's a trailer, and the footage in that trailer looks fine, but when you shoot something in black and white, it's a lot different than shooting it in color. You have to just the way you set up shots and the way the color palette is put together and the aesthetic and all this stuff. So, yes, obviously you can always strip the color away from something, but if it's not shot to be in black and white, it's not going to always look ideal. So I think it's going to vary from episode to episode, depending on how they were lit and how they were shot. And, it'd be one thing if they intentionally shot this to be in black and white, then it might end up looking great, but I'm really not sure. So yes, the answer is yes, it's a gimmick.
Jacob, I know you're a big fan of the Twilight Zone. Is this enough to get you to rewatch the episodes?
No, I have no interest in rewatching them. I mean, that's the rephrase. I like the show. I like where it's gone, even though opinion still seems very mixed. But black and white alone is not going to get me to go click play again. I would like more episodes, but black and white, for me, that was never the point of the show. And for me, it feels like Twilight Zone because of the writing and directing, not the black and white. So not for me.
Let's talk about this Aladdin clip. Because there was a clip from Aladdin. It shows the Will Smith's performance of Prince Ali. You can find it in the show notes. We'll link in the show notes. It's like a 1-minute clip. I don't think it'll spoil the film for you, especially if you've seen the original animated Aladdin. And if you haven't seen that, then whatever. I don't care about you. We're spoiling this movie. Will Smith in this performance, it feels so weird. Like, this clip looks so bad. I'm usually kind of like on board and excited with what Disney's doing, even with these like live action remakes. But this, it looks like it was filmed on a soundstage. It looks so stilted. Like, Guy Ritchie usually has more energy, and it just feels so statically shot and uninteresting. Jacob, I know you had a big reaction to this.
Yes, Peter. In fact, I have taken notes on all 33 shots of this clip, if you want to hear them.
Why have you taken notes? Yeah, let's hear the notes.
All right, shot number 1. Medium shot of Genie leading the parade. His turban explodes into confetti. Will Smith's singing voice is oddly flat. I feel like the song is pitched in the wrong direction for his voice, and it's immediately apparent he does not feel comfortable singing the song. Shot number 2, wide shot of a cheap, small-looking courtyard with far too few extras and bad CG extension on the horizon. Shot number 3, new angle on Genie from the crowd. It is inoffensive as a shot. Moving on. Shot 4, medium on Genie and dancers. Will Smith can't dance? Or was the choreographer drunk? It is not clear, because everybody seems awkward and uncomfortable, and their moves do not match the tempo of the song we remember. Shot 5, the shot of the Sultan, Jasmine, and Jafar on a balcony. The Sultan's beard looks incredibly powerfully fake, and the shot does not seem to exist within the rhythm or lighting of the rest of the sequence. Shot number 6, a medium shot of Will Smith's awkward hand movements, and he dances with each hand moving to each word in the song as if he's talking to a first grade classroom. Shot number 7, close-up of horns, inoffensive. Shot number 8, close-up of Genie as he literally brushes off his shoulder as he sings Brush Off Your Sunday Salam, which seems very weirdly literal and not like clever choreography at all. Shot number 9, more inoffensive horns. Shot number 10, a push-in on the Genie with awkward CGI transition while dancers flail around him. Shot number 11, a crane shot over the Genie reveals a parade of elephants without any grandeur. Shot number 12, we finally see Aladdin, even with no lines. He's played by a piece of wood. Shot number 13, an inoffensive crowd shot. Shot number 14, close-up of Aladdin. He doesn't look princely at all, and I'm increasingly angry at him. Shot number 15, a wide shot of Genie and the dancers doing what looks like the hammer dance. It feels improvised. Shot number 16, an alternate angle on Aladdin. He still looks boring. Shot number 17, close-up on Jasmine and her lady friend. Apparently they were told to react as if they're watching something impressive. Their reaction does not match what we are seeing. Shot number 18, a very fast cut of more dancing, too fast for us to notice anything. Shot number 19, close-up of Genie dancing. Before we can take in any more choreography, it cuts away to shot number 20. Another extremely fast cut we can't take in. Shot number 21, awkward shot of Aladdin. Shot number 22, weirdly cheap-looking shot of people looking at Aladdin and smiling. Shot number 23, another new fast angle on Aladdin. Shot number 24, new medium angle on Genie and the dancers. Cutting gets even more rapid here. Shot number 25, forward-looking dancers. Will Smith literally sidesteps in the shot and goes woo. Shot number 26, close-up of Jasmine's friends making hand gestures to indicate that this guy is rich. We know that. He has an army of parade people dancing for him. Shot number 27, wide shot of more lousy choreography, and then a bunch of CGI ostriches enter, and Will Smith, while riding an ostrich, sings about exotic type mammals, even though he's riding an ostrich, which is not a mammal. Shot number 28, a sudden close-up of an elephant, maybe because he mentioned mammals, so we're trying to connect the song to the imagery here. It's not working. Shot number 29, dancing. It's pretty inoffensive. Shot number 30, dancing, inoffensive. 31, a shot of the wide crowd that's way too fast. Shot number 32, a very slight crane shot of the Genie that cuts before we can see anything interesting happen. Shot number 33, a close-up of dancers, and then the clip abruptly ends. I rest my case.
Wow. I wish we had a like a soundboard so we could have some clapping or something.
This is a real bad thing, Peter. This looks terrible.
Yeah, there's that shot that you pointed out of Aladdin coming in, and he looks like so uncomfortable and weirded out. Like, I feel like he is the audience, right?
Yeah.
After that, I'm not even sure if I need to go to Chris or Brad, but do you guys have any additional thoughts?
Thanks, I hate it. I first of all, Will Smith can't dance. He's actually been very open about that, and so I don't know why you don't just get like some kind of double and put Will Smith's face on it with special effects, so that you give the Genie this power that he has. Because like after I watched this scene, I went back and I watched the original Prince Ali sequence, and it's just so much more full of life, and it's even more fast paced, and like you get fun moments because the Genie keeps transforming into these other things, into the crowd and into animals and all this stuff. And Will Smith's just there like he's making a Millennium music video on a Bollywood movie set, and it just
Chris, any thoughts?
I think it looks good. No. Yeah, this I'm pretty sure this is going to be the worst of the Disney live action movies to date, just based on everything we've seen so far, and this clip in particular, which is there's like zero choreography at all. And if you're making a musical, you have to have choreography. You can't just have people just singing and like, no, it literally looks like they just showed up and shot the scene without like a single rehearsal, and it's embarrassing. Like if you've ever been like at a comedy show and the comic is bombing and like you feel your own face getting really red for them, that's how I felt watching this clip. Just like, oh my god, like how did they like let this even, why would you even release this as a clip? They should hide this from everyone.
Yeah I don't know. Like, usually when you release a clip, it's like your best foot forward, right? It's like the part of the movie that's going to sell people into wanting to see this thing. It seems so, like, if this is the best part of the movie, what is the worst part of the movie? I don't know. Like, Ben and I saw like a clip at at CinemaCon that was much better than this. It's so strange that they put this out. Okay, let's move on to our last thing because we are running out of time. We're already going over, but there's something I want to talk about. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is about to open later this month. I will be visiting there next week sometime in advance. Disney has finally released the full lineup of food that they are going to have in the land. Brad, you did a write-up for this, and I know, famously on our water cooler segments, you are always doing reviews of strange and weird food, and you put together the whole list of food that is going to be offered in this galaxy far, far away. I'm wondering what are the highlights?
Honestly, for me, I'm mostly looking forward to the alcoholic beverage lineup, just because a lot of these drinks sound like they have exactly what I like to get from drinks. While I do enjoy a really good whiskey or bourbon, I also enjoy having really fruity and delicious tasting mixed drinks, and there are tons of those that they're going to have at Oga's Cantina. They have this thing called the T16 Skyhopper, which has vodka, melon liqueur, kiwi, and half and half. They have another thing called a Bespin Fizz, which has rum, yuzu puree, pomegranate juice, white cranberry juice, and cloud swirl, whatever that is, but it sounds awesome. And then they have even the non-alcoholic drinks sound cool too. They have the one that everyone's going to want to get is the blue bantha, and that's what everyone will recognize as the blue milk. But because they want to be as friendly as possible, they will have a non-dairy version of it as well. So if you're lactose intolerant, you don't have to get actual blue milk. But the blue bantha comes with its own specialty bantha inspired vanilla butter sugar cookie, which also sounds amazing to me. And I'm not super impressed by the choices that they have at Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. It feels like the kind of food where they're trying to have upscale meal options, and it's just like whatever to me. I don't need a meal to look super fancy when I'm having it in the middle of Star Wars land at Disneyland.
I don't think it's about it looking super fancy. It needs to look otherworldly.
Well, and it kind of does, but it also feels like the kind of meal where they're really doctoring up something that's just normal just to make it look different. I will say I do like the idea of the food that they have at what is called Ronto Roasters, and that's where they have the more of the the faster food where you just kind of want to get on the go. They have this thing called a Ronto wrap, which is roasted pork and grilled sausage with peppercorn sauce and tangy slaw wrapped in a pita. And they have a certain kind of jerky there. They have other specialty beverages at that place. And then there's also a separate milk stand from the cantina where you can get both blue and green milk, which again is a combination of coconut and rice milk instead of actual dairy milk. So there's going to be cool stuff here for sure, and I look forward to trying it if I ever make it to Galaxy's Edge in the next 10 years.
Yeah. I will say this. One thing that annoys me is that most of these drinks, these alcohol drinks, are named like when you go to Galaxy's Edge, when you go to Batuu, it's supposed to be a highly immersive environment. You are in the world of Star Wars. There's not going to be any merchandise that has Star Wars logos on it. It's like you are actually in a planet in the Star Wars galaxy. But a lot of these drinks, like Jedi Mind Trick, would there really be a drink at a cantina that you buy called the Jedi Mind Trick, or the T16 Skyhopper, or the Jet Juice, or the Yub Nub? I don't know. I hate the names for these things.
Well, why wouldn't there though? We have drinks called a screwdriver or a painkiller or a mind eraser, and
but the Jedi are a people that people don't even believe in. Why would there be a drink named after them?
Well, keep in mind doesn't this park take place?
It takes place between episode 8 and episode 9.
Right. So at this point, the Jedi are now being spread again because of the legend of Luke Skywalker.
Possibly. Okay. The thing I'm excited for is the smoked kadu ribs, which are these sticky pork ribs served with a blueberry corn muffin and cabbage slaw. There's a picture in the article. It looks fantastic to me. And by the way, if you're wondering, I think it's called kadu. Is that how it was pronounced? Kaadu? those are the creatures that the Gungans were on in episode 1, like those like almost like raptor looking bird creatures.
Yes.
So I guess we're eating them now in this land, and they also have like fried Endorian yip, and I guess that's like a bird on the planet of Endor. So it's kind of weird that there's no porgs. You can't eat porgs or Ewoks, but we're eating like these creatures that are from this galaxy. Isn't that a little strange?
All I want to know is, can I eat Admiral Akbar?
No, I don't think there's anything Admiral Akbar inspired here. Is there anything?
He's a giant lobster. I want to devour his flesh, Peter.
Is there anything on this list? I know there's a yub shrimp noodle salad. I don't know what yub shrimp is. That's probably a creature from like Naboo or something, I'm guessing. I don't know. Is there anything on this list, Jacob, that you will be excited to have when you finally go to Galaxy's Edge?
I'm looking forward to having some fried Endorian tip-yip, which is a crispy chicken with mashed potatoes. Can't go wrong with that. I'll probably pair it with a Batu Bon, a chocolate cake with a white chocolate mousse and coffee custard. And I will wash down with some moof juice, which is fruit punch, orange, and chipotle pineapple, which is my favorite combination of sugary bullshit and spicy bullshit.
By the way, that place that Brad talked about, that more quick serve restaurant, that's the what is that called? The
Ronto's Roasters?
Ronto's Roasters. The cool thing about that is they're roasting the meat on a pod racing engine, so it's like fully themed out. Chris, I don't know when you're ever going to make it to Batu. If you did, what would you want to consume out of this list?
I don't know. Nothing really, like, does the blue milk come out of one of those weird monsters? Like, that would be cool if it was like they had a giant...
They have
like
green milk, yeah.
Like, you know, they should have it, like, come out of, like, the nipple things of those things from The Last Jedi, and that's how you get it. And then I would have that. You hold a glass under it like a you know, soda machine, but it's the monster's nipple thing. So I don't know what they're called. What are those things called?
Teat?
No, the monster.
No, I think he was going to me for my knowledge of
What are those called?
I actually don't know what those creatures are called. I knew at one time, but it has been.
They're called thalasirens or talasirens. THALA -sirens.
All right, that's what I want.
So you want like this. Theoretically, in this marketplace, there's one of those huge creatures that is just like sitting there and constantly throughout the day being milked, and like this like animatronic creature, but on the bottom of it is kind of like a Coke machine.
Yeah, like you put like a freezer inside its stomach, and you fill it with cold green milk, and you just fill up your glass. That's what I want.
But I want to be served it by like a really gruff looking Batu resident who doesn't say anything to me when I ask for it and just slams it on the counter.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that. If they should add that, then I will go to Galaxy's Edge just for this, and then I will immediately leave. I won't go on any rides or anything.
Chris, it occurs to me that you would probably be the one here to enjoy alcoholic beverages in Batu. Which of these options at the cantina, because this is the first time that Disneyland, outside of Club 33, the private club, is going to be offering alcohol options? So,
I don't know, man. These are all too sweet for me. I mean, I don't mind sweet alcohol drinks, but you know, if you drink a lot of those, which if I'm drinking, I'm gonna get drunk. So I would end up having too many, and then I'd get like a really bad headache. It doesn't sound like a good combination. And it'd be like hot, be walking around in the sun. I don't want to. I'll probably just get like a beer if I go. I saw they had like a beer list. That's simple.
yeah, they have Gold Squadron Lager, they have White Wampa Ale, Gamorrean Ale, and Bad Motivator IPA. What I'm actually excited for is Spice Runner Hard Cider. Do you think that's going to be like apple flavored cider? I'm guessing.
I guess it has to be. It's got spice in the name. It's got cider. What else could it be?
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else of note here, Brad?
No, I mean that's pretty much it. I'm interested to hear what you think of the food once you get a chance to try it. And you'll have to send me one of those thermal detonator Coke bottles.
You know, they've limited that to like you can only buy 3 per person per transaction.
I heard about that. So you're gonna
that is nuts. So
you're gonna have to buy 3 and send me 1.
Okay.
Can I say that I'm disappointed that even though they're in Star Wars language, that there's Coke labels at all in Batuu. That bums me out. I always liked how the Harry Potter stuff at Universal, completely in-universe labels. And I do not like Coke products in Star Wars. I don't like it, Peter.
But it is in universe. It's in Arabesh.
It's still a recognizable Coke label.
Here's what I would like. I wish that they were serving soft drinks with the collectible Pepsi cans from Episode 1.
I had some of those for the longest time, like in my, on a bookshelf, and like one day I guess it got too hot or something, and they exploded all over the place.
Oh, you kept them full?
Yes.
I had a collection of empty ones, but then I was like, nope, these gotta go.
Do you remember there was like one that was like a gold Yoda can? Everybody was looking for the gold Yoda can, and in the commercial, I'm not sure if this is actually the case, but in the commercial, when you opened the gold Yoda can, there was a chance that there was a prize inside. So like there was a chance you'd like win like $1 million or something, some like huge prize, and like this like thing like comes out of the can when you open it. I don't know. Am I the only one that remembers this?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember the gold can, but I don't remember any like thing with a prize inside of it.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the advertisement in the show notes. You can find all of the stories we talked about in today's podcast linked in the show notes and on slashfilm.com. This podcast, Slash Film Daily, is published every weekday on iTunes, Google, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. Please feel free to send us your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to us at peter@slashfilm.com. Or if you want life advice from Chris, send it to peter@slashfilm.com as well. And please rate and review this podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends. Spread the word. And we'll see you tomorrow. Wait, what did you find here, Chris?
It's I dropped it in the podcast channel. It's a $75 full Mountain Dew gold Yoda can. Very hard to find.
Very hard to find.
But has it been opened? Like, could there?
No, it says it's full.
Yeah, it's full.
$75, Peter. It could be yours.
You could have this incredible Mountain Dew can.
Wait, no. It says in this description here, it does have dents and dings. It's 20 years old. So no, I'm not doing it.
Even though it's full, you don't want it because there's a dent in it. I see the dent too. There's a picture. Look at that. No, but then you can haggle. You can be like, look, I'll give you $50 for this. And then you can go back and forth.
If you go search on eBay, there's a bunch more.
By the way, there is a shop in Galaxy's Edge where you're actually supposed to be able to haggle with the alien proprietor of the shop. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, that won't go well.
Peter, to answer your question from earlier, according to the text on the gold Yoda can, congratulations, you have found a gold Yoda can and have won $20 subject to verification. To redeem your prize, call 1-800-652-1800 for details and official rules. Game ends 9/15/99.
Oh, wow.
Let's call that number now and see if anyone picks up.
I was way off. I said $1 million. It was only 20.
It's just, you call the number, it's just George Lucas. Thanks for buying the